Oh, right. I think I'm back to normal thanks to Warren Jones and the gift to this channel of a couple of batteries that'll keep going for quite a while, I think. Well, I kind of gotten out of hand probably with my chucks for this old axle, and I've got like 10 spindle attachments for it now. But in reality, if I wasn't doing this very much or just to get started, this is the best start. A 4-jaw chuck and like an ER40 collet chuck I could probably do without all those other attachments, but it would just take a lot more time. Now, this chuck I got on here is my favorite all-time 12-inch 4-jaw chuck for this size and larger lathes. It's a Cushman solid steel direct mount 4-jaw. Now, what I'm going to talk about is something that they don't really put in specifications in lathes, but Monarch did, and companies like Dean Smith and Grace did too. And this is the, let me hold that up. And maybe you can get a better look at it, freeze framing. Okay. So this is the specs for a Monarch 10W lathe. Well, that heater's gonna go, but it's gonna go, so I'll try to talk over it. Now, back in this brochure here, it says, for example, spindle runout is guaranteed to 50 millionths or less. This is a direct result of how the spindle is ground. The nose, face, and tapered journals are all ground at one setting. While being ground, the spindle is supported in plain bearings. Precision match to those journals. Even the slight run out of anti-friction bearings is unacceptable to Monarch standards. Now, this is kind of interesting what they're describing here. It's a lathe, actually, that's pretty rare. It's got plain spindle bearings. But actually, with the ball bearings, they've actually achieved that too. So back here, some manufacturers will grind the spindle mounted in the bearings, and that's usually in the headstock. They have a fixture, and they just simply grind the face, the tapers, rotating the spindle in the headstock with grinding attachments, however they do it at factories. And they didn't always do that. And they didn't do that with this Axelson, and they didn't do that with many other lathes too. And I'm not sure exactly when they started doing that, but this is a 1941 Axelson, and I had a 1960 Watch and Shipley power turn, a size larger than this, and it had bigger bearings, a 2-inch spindle hole. This thing's got 1 inch and 5/8, I think. But anyway, the Watch and Shipley had the same 4 10-pin bearings supporting the spindle. A little different arrangement, but the spindle face run out on it was, I think, as I remember, just a little over 2 10,000ths. Now on this old Axelson, it's just a little over 4 10,000ths, and not to get upset about that or anything, I looked at some Dean Smith and Grace specifications, because there's a few of those around, and they're interesting machines like this Axelson. And the maximum runout is half thousandths on the D16 spindle on, I think it's a 1609, Dean Smith and Grace. And I was reading on the Tony side that it's kind of referred to as the Monarch version. I don't know, the Dean Smith and Grace, but somehow Monarch got involved with DSG, and the base on my Monarch 10EE is made by DSG as cast there. Well, anyway, the spindle runout here, radial runout, is 30 millionths on the Monarch 10EE, and we got more than 10 times that on the sold axis. And the axial runout is 30 millionths. And, oh, that's the rotational accuracy. Okay, 30 millionths on the rotational accuracy. Look at that. So the spindle headstock face runout is half a tenth, 50 millionths. Taper runout, half of a 10,000th. And 50 millionths taper hole runout. So it's nearly 5 times that on this. But the rotation, okay, so all of that's aside from rotational accuracy. So that's actually how round the part is going to be. And no matter how accurate the machine, it's like specimens for electron microscope. They'll polish them shinier than any mirror, but when they look at it with the microscope, it's like the surface of the moon. So a machine, a lathe will put out something less than round, more like a potato. And there's equipment for measuring that. Well, anyway, the rotational accuracy I found by my lodge in Shipley, well, it was tested, had it tested, and it was a little bit over 60 millionths, maybe almost 70 millionths. And so far on this, just with tests that I'm able to do, it's just under a 10,000ths rotational accuracy. And that can vary. It can get worse running in the rougher gears. So, and I'm still working on the spindle appearance. So to get the accuracy of these Monarch 10EEs, and I want to throw in the hard inch too, because it's even more accurate. At least they used to be. Hold on for a second. I'll be right back. Hey, I'm back here. Here, I had this bearing here. Now, this is a spindle bearing out of a hard inch chucker. It's the same for the HLVH. And they use 2 of these. Now, in the Monarch 10EE, they use like 4 ball bearings. So you can, it gains in stiffness for the spindle, but you also lose a little bit of accuracy adding these components. So the hard inch is actually, they used to advertise it as standard, and then they made it custom optional, was 25 millionths run out on the tapers. The spindle mount on the hard inch HLVH and the HC chucker. But I don't know, 50 million, then they went to 50 millionths, and Monarch here could go to 30 millionths and all that stuff. But these geared head lathes are still very, very usable, you know, of course they are. And when you start getting into the larger ones, like some of the Morisikis and some of the others have ball bearing spindles, the Pratt and Whitney Model C has a ball bearing spindle. And what I'm getting to is to be able to get to the accuracy needed to mount one of these bearings. So what you got to do is a second or maybe in third or fourth operation on a journal that you create like on this machine to get it to the accuracy needed to mount one of these precision bearings. And there's a lot of different ways to get there that's kind of fun. And I want to, some of them I've done, some I've witnessed, and we had a really good instructor at the community college here. And if you ask the right questions, you go, oh yeah, this is what you do. You know, you can burnish a surface, and then you can lap a surface. And lapping is something I want to get into because there's some good videos on lapping, but there's really not much on lapping with the traditional abrasives like silicon carbide. You know, diamond lapping is a little bit different. I'll have to get into that because it's a lot more economical to master using old clover compound than buying those diamond compounds are quite expensive. And my channel is all about saving money. I mean, to maybe an extreme degree, because I salvage anything I possibly can. I found some old bolts that are over 100 years old, and up there in Montana, and I'll make screws out of those because the metal will match metal that was made 100 years ago. Modern, you know, things change and the metal's a little different color, might absorb bluing or something differently. So you can you can do a lot of antique restoration by using antique metal. But there's a lot of things you can do with an antique lathe like this. And a lot of it happens to be in the old South Bend and possibly Alice How to Run Lathe manuals where they talk about the secondary operations of lapping, ring lapping a shaft, and barrel lapping holes. So I'm going to get more into that, and I think that'll be interesting. And you can make interesting things. You know, you can make like precision running, grinding spindles and stuff like that without having to put out the expense of. Let's look at this. Talk about expense. I'm glad I got this one. I did. Talk about a crazy market. I've never seen anything like what I've seen going on with these things. On eBay, there's a long bed, one of these things, for sale, sold, whatever, back for sale, sold for $8,000, sold for $2,000. I don't know what the thing sold for. I quit looking at the history of the darn thing. And it seems like the same characters are all involved in these 4 or 10 double E's. I don't know what the hell's going on, but it's a funny thing. I put this thing up for sale, then all of a sudden a whole bunch of them came up for sale. I go, well, what is this crazy stuff? Then I go, you know what? I'm going to keep this thing and just use it, make videos with it, and see what. Now there's none of them for sale. And people are unhappy with me about my views on the drive systems for these things. But let me say this about that. This is something that was figured out quite a long time ago. You're not going to be able to successfully put on an electronic spindle controller on that old time DC motor. You can put your new stuff on new motors, but you can't outdo the old vacuum tubes and motor generator on those old DC motors. That's just all there is to it. And people have figured it out that the best thing to do, and you're going to have to do the same thing if you're going to modernize with DC, is adapt that two-speed back here to your motor. So the best option is, and has been for a long time, is the VFD, rather than dinking around trying to replicate what the DC drive does with two knobs and ripple filters and all this stuff that idiot that goes back to his other fake name monarchist puts out. That is just complete nonsense. If you want to do that, do it. But you're better off going with the VFD and send the DC stuff that's on that aside and sell it to somebody who could use it. But VFD is just a lot better way to go. But you got to put an adapter onto inverter duty AC motor. But anyway, that's that. But I'm going to get into more of what this does. But first, if you're making a part, it starts here. Because you don't want to be hogging out a bunch of metal, making it ring, or some, precision bearing spacer or something like that. On the 10EE, you want to hog it out here, leave about a 16,000ths everywhere, that's critical. Then finish it over there on that machine to save the wear and tear. So this machine here replaces an old beat up 10EE I was using in here for roughing stuff out. And over here, the parts start out here on this horizontal, and if it requires more precision, then it comes over here to the jig bore for finishing. So I'm going to do some more demo on this and show some fly cutting, because that's one of the things that this machine does very well. Okay. Just saying good morning here, and I hope you have a good week. I'm going to keep going, and thanks again to Warren Jones for the GoPro batteries. And if something comes up in a few minutes, I'll turn the camera back on, but otherwise, have a good day. Okay, back again. Now, because this is a direct mount chuck, it has no back plate. The D16 is machined right into the chuck body, and it's also an A16. By knocking out these plugs and removing the pins, you can bolt it onto an A-type spindle. So, since the spindle was not ground in the headstock in this 1941 machine, I'm going to lightly scrape the mount on the chuck to reduce the runout. Now, the runout I got on the face of the Bison chuck was right about 1/1000th. And here I am getting at least 3/1000ths. And I've moved the chuck around in the positions, and this is as good as it's going to get right here. So I'm going to touch up the mount. I haven't done anything to the mount on this one like the others. The mounts were damaged. This chuck here was, it looks like it just was never used. It's got dings on the outside from getting kicked around. This was back when you could get a good deal from HGR. This cost $250 total to get here, and this is really a good chuck. So I'm looking at, there's two yeah, just slightly over 3/1000 runouts. So I'll just adjust the chuck a little bit. Maybe that's excessive compulsive disorder. But I can also use this chuck as a faceplate and a combination of a chuck and a faceplate with these slots here. So it's really a versatile chuck. It's got very aggressive jaws. And it's great for castings and things like that. So that's what I'm going to do next. Okay.